Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. Thank you for tuning in. And everyone, thank Jon for making the drive back from Duluth to join us for the podcast this week. Otherwise, it would just been me and you all would have been really upset.
I just feel bad, Jason, that you weren't up in Duluth with us this weekend because it was a lot of fun. Loyal listeners will know this, but for those of you who just tune in every so often, Jason had been with us at every road game UNO had played this season up until Duluth. Bridget and I were worried we didn't want to get Jason in trouble at work by taking him away from work every Friday. UNO's on the road this season. And this was the one venue that we had not been to in the NCHC. We had not been to a road series in Duluth. I'll put an asterisk on that. This comes up after your wife texted the group this weekend. Bridget and I, back in 2012, we led a Mavpuck.com bus trip to Colorado Springs to see UNO take on Colorado College, but they were still playing at World Arena. They were not playing at the new Ed Robeson Arena. We have to get out to see one at Colorado Springs. And sadly, UNO doesn't play at Colorado Springs this season. So I guess we're not going to make it this year. So I'm glad that Jolene pointed that out. After she did that, I made sure all of my social media posts did not say that this was the last NCHC venue we had yet to visit. I know you guys visited Ed Robeson Arena a couple of years ago, Jason.
We did. It's a really nice place. I think you're going to like it when you go. I share your pain here, though, because I have the bucket list of, and I know a lot of NHL fans have this bucket list, but I've wanted to see every team play in their home arena. So I'm torn on what to do about Detroit because I'm not a huge Detroit fan. I saw Detroit play in the old Joe, but now they have Little Caesars, and I can't decide if I'm willing to go back to Detroit to see a game or if I'm counting the old Joe as my Detroit arena.
Jason, you're going to have to go. I know that they've revitalized Detroit. You're going to have to go check it out.
Okay, so now the most important question before we get into the games this weekend, though, is you are planning to go to the Arizona State series for the Desert Classic here, right? That's what they're calling it, right? The Desert Classic in January. I get that
yes,
right?
As are you.
Yes, as am I. Do we get to count Arizona State? Or do we have to go back when they're actually members of the NCHC?
I don't know if it's just seeing a team in their venue or if it has to be, in a conference matchup. I'm going to say we're good on that one, Jason.
All right. Then I'm good. Okay. I just want to make sure like what we're counting here so I know what I got to get to. Where do I got to get to? I got to get to St. Cloud, I think. I think that's the only one. No, I haven't seen Western Michigan. So I'm going to get out there.
Well, there are opportunities to go see both of those teams in their home barns in the second half of the season. If you are motivated to do so, Jason. Before we dive into the series up at Duluth, we've got to give a shout out to our merchandise sponsor on the Mavpuckcast this season, Lawler's Custom Sportswear. Christmas will be here before you know it, Jason, and both of us are interested in getting the loved ones in our lives some new gear from Lawler's Custom Sportswear. Be sure to check out Lawler's Custom's brick and mortar store on 84th Street here in Omaha. If you're not here in Omaha, you can, of course, check them out at lawlerscustom.com. And if you're going to be at the series against St. Cloud this upcoming weekend, you can check out their booth at the games. Jason, do you have any UNO gear that you're interested in getting this Christmas season?
There are some things I have my eye on. So I'm wearing my old gray jersey. I do want to, capitalize on the new white home jerseys with the bull on the front. We've talked about those in an earlier podcast. That's on my list. So we'll see if Santa thinks I was a good boy this year and brings me one, or if I have to go out and buy my own Christmas gift.
I hope we'll see you on the podcast in that new home jersey in the second half of the season. But before that, we've got to turn to our series up in Duluth on December 1st and 2nd. Bridget and I were there. We had a great time. Bridget did not tell me until the last second because she knows how much I don't like to travel. So she told me like hours before we were leaving that we were leaving. She does that occasionally. So who knows where I'll be going in the future this season. But that Friday game, you look at the first period, it was a scoreless first period Friday night in Duluth, Jason.
Yeah, which I thought that was a good road kind of start for UNO. They had some opportunities. They were playing pretty good D. A lot of our concern going into it was the penalties, taking too many penalties, especially with the powerhouse power play that Duluth seemed to have. So to not have any penalties in the first either, I thought that was a positive sign for us moving forward. We talked on the preview last week that these two teams were pretty evenly matched, so it was a lot of what I expected.
As you alluded to, Duluth going into this series had the top ranked power play unit in the nation. They'd had some struggles this season, but their struggles came against some good competition. Going into that second period, of course, we're tied. 9:19 into the second, senior defenseman Nolan Krenzen puts UNO up 1-0. It was a sweet pass across the slot by forward Ray Fuss. Good position for UNO to be in, up 1-0 midway through that period.
Especially on the road, you like to get up and get going. I think this team plays better when they have the lead. And they held it for a while there, with Duluth pushing a lot, and Duluth controlled a lot of the game start to finish. So you knew we were going to rely pretty heavily on the defense just to keep the puck out of the net. So to see them get on the score sheet and get us ahead too is just a bonus on top of a bonus there.
UNO went to the box 3 times during that period. And like you mentioned, our defense played well. Late in the second period, UMD's Ben Steve, who we talked about on last week's episode of the Mavpuckcast, tied it up 1-1. The goal came off a rebound off of Simon's skate. It was just an unfortunate rebound that went right to him. So the game was tied 1-1 after 2 periods. But as you said, road game, tough team, tough environment, a good position for UNO to be in. But the fireworks got started early in that third period, Jason. 1:05 into the third, Duluth's Luke Lowhite puts the Bulldogs up 2-1. It was set up by a tough turnover. But 17 seconds later, Jack Randall ties it up 2-2. It was a good face-off win that led to that goal. Nice to see Randall get that goal, Jason.
It was. He's a guy that we talked about, needed to come out and show that last season was not a fluke, and he's been kind of snake bitten. He's had opportunities this season, hasn't been able to finish, and so to see him get on the scoreboard, I think was encouraging thing. The other thing I think was, and it goes underrated a lot. You and I seem to talk to about a lot because it's something that I've noticed about this team. When they struggle, they have a hard time doing this. But LeMay's ability off of winning the draw to get the puck through that kind of first level of defenders so that the puck's at least in that scoring zone down close. I can't remember if it was a save that came back out to Randall, or I think if I remember right, it was off of a body in front that ended up on his stick. And that's what you're really looking at is they're Duluth's really good about double layering their defense. And so you really got to get that puck off that first defender and into that second level. And then you let a guy like Randall, just kind of out muscle a guy in front of the net and just kind of jam that home. I really hope that this is kind of that spark for Randall. I hope that he really turns it on here in the next half-ish of the season and starts kind of pounding that puck to the back of the net, because we're going to need that scoring if we're going to make it through the NCHC.
Absolutely right. 12:59 into the third period. Connor McMenamin, who transferred from Penn State. And the reason that I know that is because I watched the Penn State hockey story on YouTube, and they featured him last season. Kind of a neat player. He put UMD up 3-2. UNO tried to tie it up again, but they were ultimately unsuccessful in that venture. UMD gets an empty net goal in the closing moments of the third period. A final UMD for Omaha 2, closer than the score would indicate. Jason, what did you think of UNO in that Friday game? I thought that it was a good outing for UNO, and I thought that they had opportunities to win that game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the positives you take from that, and as a coach, I'm sure probably what Gabs was preaching to the guys was, we did what we needed to. We were positive side of the face-off dot. That's a good thing for this team. They had opportunities that they just didn't capitalize on. That comes down to what we've talked about. Like, this team just lacks the skill position. They lack true goal scorers. We were concerned coming into the season with their ability to score goals. So when you do get behind, especially when you get behind in that latter half of a third period kind of thing, the guys kind of start taking a few more gambles. You generate some chances off that, but you also give up some easy outs and things like that. So there was a lot of rush play in the third period. And unfortunately, it's just a really hard, like, you're relying on luck at that point in time, rather than working your system and playing to your skill areas and stuff. The empty net goal, I mean, 2 minutes left, you got to pull your goalie. Like, I write off empty net goals. As far as my book, this was a 3-2 win for Duluth. Lacozy played great in net. Like I said, the face-off wins, that's the positive. I think the biggest thing coming from this is that Duluth was 0-3 on the power play and really didn't have a lot of good looks. That's the other thing, is I think they only ended up with a couple shots on net even in those 3 power plays. And so you're really negating opportunities, controlling that, and that's a positive. Our power play is the one sore spot still. Like, we've got to find a solution for that. I know our only power play was, I don't know, what was it, like 20 seconds or something like that in length before Mueller takes his tripping call. But you really got to find some power play goals if this team's going to be successful.
Saturday night's game was an early game. It always throws me off as a fan not having the 7 p.m. or thereabouts game. So this was a 5 p.m. game. During the first period on Saturday night, it felt like UNO was on their heels a little bit. We were outshot 15-7 in the first. I was a bit worried, but it was scoreless after one, Jason.
Again, just keep playing the road game. Just, try to capitalize on opportunities when you get them. Try to limit the opportunities for Duluth. That's going to be their recipe for success, home or away, for this team.
Yeah, and that's what they did in the second period. They had more rhythm. As they neared the midway point of the period, they overtook the Bulldogs in shots on goal. Simon, like you mentioned in that Friday game, had some big saves in the period. So did the posts. At the tail end of the second, UMD's Tyler Clevin got a 5-minute major for charging. He bolted into UNO freshman forward Tanner Ludke. Ludke had to be helped off the ice by Jesse Lansdell. Jason, what did you think of that charging call? Because there were some UMD fans in the arena who were booing that Clevin got a 5-minute major for that.
I don't understand it. And it's not is it a penalty or is it not? It's like, I really question if the roles were reversed and that was a UNO player making the same hit, if they really would have, left the kid in the game. If you're going to go back and look at that and call that a 5-minute major, I don't see how you don't eject him from the game. But they didn't, and that's what we ended up with, which was kind of a grimy game the rest of the way. UNO's play in the second was the best that they had with flow, and and the third period just became a slodge, really.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was 0-0 after 2 periods, and it was kind of a battle of attrition in that third period. UNO didn't take advantage of that 5-minute power play. Simon came up big again in nets during the third period. The game was tied at the end of regulation 0-0. So we go to the 3-on-3 overtime. And boy, I'll tell you what, the way that a 3-on-3 overtime opens up the ice, Jason, man, it makes me nervous because one little misstep and your opponent, if they have the puck, can be gone. And it was back and forth during that period. Both teams had some good opportunities, but Jack Randall, who we mentioned on Friday nights, with 157 left in the overtime period, he puts the puck in for UNO. It's always weird when you're on the road because nobody cheers when that happens, and we were at the opposite end of the ice, so we weren't sure that happened. Bridget, of course, cheered loudly because that's what Bridget does at home, on the road. It doesn't matter. Randall could have passed that puck off to Miller, but he took the shot, and I'm really glad that he did. This was a good overtime win for UNO, and we always remind the people out there listening, if you win in regulation, you get 3 out of 3 conference points. If the game goes to overtime, each team gets a conference point, and the winner of the 3-on-3 overtime period, or if it's tied after the overtime period and it goes to a shootout, the winner of the shootout gets the extra conference points. So UNO got 2 out of 3 conference points in this game.
We both thought they'd split. This is kind of a split. If you're UNO, you're probably a little chafed that you let a point go. You wish you could have got that opportunity or one of those opportunities in regulation to go and got out with 3 points and been in a different position. But at the same time, like we said about the first game, like there's a lot of positives to take out of this going in to next weekend and going to the rest of NCHC play. Especially things like on Saturday, I saw that Sullivan was, I think, 16-5 in the faceoff dot. I mean, that's huge. Like, you got a guy winning 3/4, 70-80% of his draws. And if they can keep that up, if they've got multiple guys that are above 500 on the faceoff dot, like that's a lot of control, and you can start setting up things, like Randall's goal that come off of those faceoff wins. UNO was 0 for 1. It was just that 20-second power play, so really 0 for 0 on Friday, but they were 0 for 6, and you couldn't capitalize on a 5-minute all-you-can-eat kind of power play. So that's really a problem for UNO when you look at this series, because you could easily say that 2 power play goals across those 2 games, and you might be talking about sweeping Duluth on their home ice, and that would have been really massive for UNO to do. So I think they need to get back here to Omaha, and they need to get back on the ice and keep working on that power play and what they need to do to get that done.
They're showing that they're resilient on the road. They don't give up, and it's nice to see. So, talking about this series, Jason, who was your player of the week? Who did you like this weekend for the series at Minnesota Duluth?
I mean, you saw him live. I'd love to see who you pick first, and then I'll pick mine after. I really think there's probably 2 people we're both thinking of. So I'm guessing you pick one and I'll just take the other one, but we'll see.
I actually have in my notes here, I have 3 players. I will go ahead and pick the obvious, which is graduate forward Jack Randall. 2 goals on the weekend, including the OT winner on Saturday. He has 4 goals and 3 assists this season. Certainly not the numbers that he had in last season's campaign at this point, but glad to see Jack Randall heating up this season. One of those solid veteran players for UNO, and he had a good weekend for the team.
He did, and I think you will agree, we need him to be the spark that he needs to kind of catch fire here. I hope that between the good net front goal that he had, and then it's a different kind of goal in the overtime with him sniping that shot through the defender. Hopefully that gives him some more confidence, and he starts finding the back of the net. So he was definitely one of the 2 that were on my list. So I will take the other one that I thought was obvious, and that's Simon Latkoczy. The goals that Duluth got The three that they got on Friday, like, he did the best he could, kind of thing. A lot of those were weird bounces, pucks into strange areas, and he's having to recover because he's anticipating, the play that's in front of him and that adjustment. And so like it's hard. You need some help from your D. Sometimes you need some just better puck luck, and we didn't get it. So I'm not going to hold most of that. And he made some really good saves on Friday. And then Saturday, just outside his mind. Like that was a really good game. So I think he deserves a lot of accolades for just getting us out of there with 2 points this weekend. Now I need to know, what's the third name on your list?
Well, let me just say about Simon. That was his first shutout of the season on Saturday nights. It's the third of his career with UNO. And again, yeah, he saved our bacon a lot on Saturday night. So nice to see him step up. The third player I had, again, was not obvious, but you talked about him a bit earlier. Nolan Sullivan won 10 of 16 faceoffs on Friday and 16 of 21 faceoffs during the Saturday game. He also agitated the Bulldogs into committing a couple of penalties during the Saturday game. So obviously not the obvious kind of statistical players that we usually pick for the players of the week, but I thought Nolan had a nice weekend.
Yeah, he's in the leadership for a reason, and it shows when he's on the ice.
Absolutely right. So, turning to our things you missed in Duluth. Unfortunately, Jason missed.
I missed them all.
Jason, I know, I feel so bad talking about these things, but I tried to pick some things that I thought you would like to comment on as it relates to the UNO hockey fan experience. They had little kid hockey on the ice both Friday and Saturday nights. They were playing in all three zones of the ice. And on Saturday, they played before the game, during the game, in both intermissions. And it was kind of interesting to see youth hockey going on before the game. It got fans in their seats. I don't recall having had any youth hockey little scrimmages out on the ice this season for UNO. We have in the past, but I don't think I've seen any this season at Baxter
I
Arena.
mean, we haven't had them really in quite a while, from what I recall. And I know teams, I know some teams do it every, it's usually the mites, the really little kids that, it's just something fun for them, kind of thing, to keep their interest in hockey. And so I think it's a great thing to do. Like, it seems like some of the teams just are more connected to the hockey community. And it's curious that UNO isn't. It's interesting that they did it before the game, because I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, that's the aspect that I thought was really interesting, was that they did it before the game started. They dimmed the lights, the kids came out and played, and like you said, they were mites. So it was like, it was kind of like bunch ball in soccer, where like the whole throng of kids go to wherever the puck is on the ice. So it was pretty fun to watch. There were some cute moments in that, but I kind of liked the before the game because it got the kids there early, got the parents and the fans in the stands early. So yeah, we'll have to see if UNO has any youth hockey planned at some point coming up this season, because I don't know if we'll see any youth hockey at Baxter Arena this season. We did check out the concessions, Jason, and I know you saw this picture. Bridget got the grilled cheese with tomato basil dipper. It was $9, by the way. They actually had a griddle there where they were cooking the grilled cheese at the concession stand where they sold those. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to be seeing several gratuitous photos of Bridget's grilled cheese. She got it both nights. Jason, what did you think of the pictures that you saw anyway of Bridget's grilled cheese? I know you're a big grilled cheese fan.
I am. That is one of my favorite foods, like grilled cheese and tomato soup. Yeah. I was coping with the not being there with you until you went and said, like, oh yeah, and we got this. And I'm like, great. Like,
Jason is going to disown us after this segment.
Over grilled cheese and tomato soup.
And I do want to add special thanks to UNO Athletics Sports Information Director Austin Rush for recommending the grilled cheese to Bridget. He is a UMD grad. He worked with the hockey program when he was a student up there, and I know Bridget was very excited to get that. So who knows? She may be going up next weekend to get the grilled cheese dipper at AMSOIL Arena. As I mentioned earlier, the Saturday game started at 5 p.m. to accommodate a skate with the team event that they had after it. Although it seemed like most of the families had left. When we were up at St. Cloud State 4 or 5 years ago, they did the same thing. The game started early, and then after the game, fans could go and skate with the team. What do you think of having it on a game night?
There's pros and cons. Obviously it's nice that you're already there. I know as a player, you typically dislike these weird times. You have most hockey players are pretty routine orientated. It is nice from the fan perspective of you're already there, just toss your skates on and go out on the ice, and the guys can have some fun with it. Didn't they do like a skate thing for the New Year's Eve game last year?
Yeah. They you got to go out and skate with the team at Baxter Arena on the New Year's game. So I guess we kind of have done that, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of a little bit different than a skate with the team kind of thing. It was a little bit more festivities for everyone else kind of thing. But yeah, that's probably as close as we've come, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Jason, because you were out of town for that. That didn't dawn on me either. So there you go. One of the other cool things I'll just mention real briefly was going on outside of the arena, right next to it. Duluth has what's called Bentleyville, which is a light festival outside of the arena. This was the 20th year for that. So a lot of fans after the game, including Bridget and myself, went over and walked through their big light display. It was very, very cool. So a very nice atmosphere for the game. So Jason, I'm sorry you missed it. We'll make it up to you when we're out at Tempe in January. But before we turn to our preview of the next series, we've got to remind fans that before the December 9th game is Toys for Tots. It's the Sheila Leahy Toys for Tots collection. They are encouraging fans to bring a new unwrapped toy. The U.S. Marine Corps will be there collecting donations. You can also make cash donations in person or online. Jason, I still think that we should have a teddy bear toss at a UNO hockey game at some point.
I agree. I want to be there for that.
And December 9th is also ugly sweater night. So, Jason, do you have an ugly sweater that you're going to wear to the game?
I mean, no, I don't.
Fans, do with that information what you will. So, turning to our St. Cloud State series, December 8th and 9th at Baxter Arena. St. Cloud is 8-5-1 overall. They are a perfect 6-0 in NCHC play. They are currently first in the NCHC standings. Head coach Brett Larson is 114, 65, and 17 in his 6 seasons at SCSU. He was actually an assistant at Minnesota Duluth before he came to St. Cloud State. I reached out to St. Cloud fan Johnny Mack, who is at Fight the Pants on Twitter. I love some of these Twitter handles. He offered some insights on the team for us. He said the freshmen are playing on the PK and PP units and are doing very well this season. In particular, freshman forward Werner Miettinen, who's a brother of Vidi Miettinen, who's a player that we've been watching for the Huskies for the last few seasons. And freshman forward Barrett Hall are doing very well. He said senior forward Vidi Miettinen, who has 10 goals and 4 assists this season, and grad student Kyler Kupka, who has 5 goals and 6 assists this season, have shown up as offensive leaders. He also mentioned that grinders like Grant Ashan have given teams fits in both zones. And then in net, Dominic Bassi, who played for Colorado College for many years, has appeared in all 14 games for St. Cloud State. He has a 2.31 goals against average and a .908 save percentage. And according to Johnny Mack, he said it looks like Bassi will play in net until he just absolutely needs a break. And that he's particularly good at stopping breakaway opportunities this season. So he's been solid in net. So, Jason, what do you think going into this series against St. Cloud State?
It's a tough draw. I think St. Cloud's playing better than a lot of people expected them to be. I think Bassi has a lot to do with that. I don't, especially like reviewers and pundits and stuff, like they didn't give him a lot of credit for his play in Colorado College and how much of that was the team in front of him. It's a different style of play at St. Cloud, and I think it fits his style of goaltending better. They don't give away a lot. They don't give up a lot of odd numbered situations. So, I think of Randall's goal from Friday night is going to be, we're going to need a lot more of that to find a victory against St. Cloud. Their sophomore forward, Adam Ingram, is one that I'm really keeping an eye on. He looks like he could be, a dominant player for St. Cloud in the future. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how he does, going through the rest of this. He's not, a straight setup artist, but he's got pretty good vision. So he'll be one to kind of watch out for when he's on the ice. It's a deep team. This is kind of like what UNO says they want to be, where, 1 through 4, any line can hurt you. And there's quality players, and there's guys willing to go to work and willing to put in, the heavy minutes and stuff up and down the roster. St. Cloud has that. And so it's going to be a battle of who wants it more. There's a little bit of an advantage to UNO that we get to play them at home. I think that we stand a much better chance, particularly with the way they're playing right now. I like our chances playing them here at Baxter Arena and not at St. Cloud.
Jason, who do you like in this series? Do you think UNO will sweep? Do you think we'll get swept? Do you think we'll split? Do you think it'll be something funky like a win and a tie, so that I have to try and represent that graphically on the video version of this podcast on YouTube? What do you think is going to happen? This team we're playing is a perfect 6-0 in conference play this season, coming into Baxter Arena.
Yeah, and they've got the space on Denver that they need 6 games into the season. They won't fall past Denver any one weekend, but they know that North Dakota's nipping at their heels. And so they're not gonna be looking past Omaha. They're gonna know that, worst case scenario, they need to go back to St. Cloud with a split. That's their, like, it's kind of a disaster if that doesn't happen. So they're gonna be motivated. And they're a tough team to play against. Like I said, it's very similar to the style that UNO plays. Unfortunately, like, it just seems like they do it better than us. And I think there's room there to win. I want them to split. Like, that's kind of what I'd like to see, is I'd like to see us at least take 1 game from them. But I just don't know. Like, the way St. Cloud's saying, I think that most likely we end up losing both games.
Okay, so are you saying St. Cloud sweeps?
That is what I'm going with.
Suddenly a dark cloud is hanging over the podcast here.
Here comes the graphic with the lightning bolts. I'm writing this for John as we go through.
Yep, Jason's just teeing this stuff up for me so I can post all the graphics over this. I guess I'm going to have to be the positive guy here, and I'm going to have to say UNO gets its first NCHC sweep of the season. I think it's going to come down to defensive play for UNO. I think UNO, ever since that series that we were in attendance out in Denver for, they seem to be playing a tougher brand of hockey. And it's not always perfect. It's not always going to be pretty, but we've seen players who are committed to doing the little things right, blocking shots, winning faceoffs, those, kind of unheralded moments in a game that make a big difference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. If you would like to join us at Baxter Arena for the games this weekend, they start at 7:07 p.m. and the Baxter Arena box office or online at omavs.com can fulfill your ticket needs. If you're not coming to the game, you can listen to the games in Omaha on the radio on 1290 Coil or on the Varsity Network app. I felt like I should get a plug for the app since I typically only mention the radio station, Jason. And of course, you can watch the games on NCHC TV. It'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward.
Like, I think that'd be like if you get out there, get that first goal. We've played really good first periods where we just from the drop of the first puck, just pedal to the metal. Everything at the net, guys flying in there. Chasing rebounds, digging pucks out of corners, things like that. Like that kind of game, if we can get that generating and going early, it's not unheard of that UNO could beat St. Cloud. We have to be better at that game than they are. That's going to be the key.
Absolutely right. And like you mentioned, this has the potential to be a big lift for the team going into the second half grind of the NCHC schedule. So the team, as I mentioned many times, has got to play meat and potatoes hockey, put the puck on net, don't get fancy, and try to create havoc in front of the nets. And I think they have an opportunity to do well in these series. It sure would be a great position for UNO to be in heading to that holiday tournament after Christmas out in Tempe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find links to our social media channels at mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of these podcasts, which we encourage you to watch. We encourage you to listen to. So until next time, Jason, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.